Hello everybody, welcome. So we're a bit early tonight, my apologies. I ran into the ground. I have 5 decent shows in this week. I'm going to be talking about CERN tonight. And a Chinese media, according to these people in No Peace, which is quite a derogatory term, has called for China to nuke Japan. Can't say you blame them. You think about the radioactive fallout from Fukushima. Go for it, man. Make sure you take Fukushima out while you're at it. And we're going to start off with a little video of the nuclear inbreeds. I shouldn't say anything, I'm not sure. My version of it is it's 2 people from the nuclear industry or connected to the nuclear industry have a child, and the child grows up and goes to the nuclear industry, goes to university. I can't tell you too much because it's given it away. It's a great video. I put a link in the description for you. It's at James Lucett's site on YouTube. Little Nuclear Johnny's Thanksgiving special. It's excellent. Just give me 1 second. And he's experimenting with new software. But it's very, very accurate. I'll be right back after this. This is a great video. And they're tiny, tiny, identical houses. It's just such a perfect little video. It's just a little gem. Here we go. Self-explanatory. I'll be right back.
Well, here we go again. I hope this doesn't go too long. Everyone's gonna be excited. They always are. Little Nuclear Johnny, you know? The smart one. The success story. Gotta play the part.
Johnny! Oh my goodness, sweetheart, you made it.
There's our boy. Look at you.
Your aunt will be here any minute. She's so excited to see you. Oh, that must be your Aunt Mel.
Oh no. She's early.
Hi everyone! So sorry I'm late. It is so good to see you. I had the craziest morning. You will not believe it.
I'm so happy to see you.
It's good to see you too, Aunt Mel.
So Johnny, sweetheart, how are things going at school?
Well, actually...
Oh, 1 second, honey. Hi! Yes, I've got those approvals prepped. I'll have everything ready first thing Monday morning.
Oh, I am so hungry. I could eat a spent fuel rod. Just kidding.
So then I said, if you want real climate action, you need atoms. Honestly, I am exhausted.
Here we go.
And this family? We're pretty proud of you.
Feels like I'm studying in 1945 most days. Just don't want to let Mom and Dad down. Aunt Mel, what do you think about neutron embrittlement?
Johnny, why would you bring that up?
Never mind.
Hi! Yes, I can be there soon. Perfect timing. Sweetheart, I am so proud of you. You're the future. You're doing amazing work.
Thanks, Aunt Mel.
Love you all. Gotta run.
Duty calls. Keep building those reactors, Johnny.
Drive safe, sweetheart.
Proud of you, son.
Thanks. Yep. That's Aunt Mel.
Nuclear embrittlement. That's awesome, man. That's what we need too, is come out and hit them right below the belt. It's a pretty innocent video. But nuclear embrittlement is the Achilles heel to the nuclear industry. They know it. They don't like anybody looking in that direction, I can tell you that much. Make sure you get over there and give them a thumbs up. Give them some support. Okay. Chinese government, no peace. So this means they're connected to the government. It's connotations just we're supposed to take away from that. And it's worth noting anyway. I think China should nuke Japan. Wait till everybody's in the diet. And then accidentally nuke Fukushima while you're at it, if you don't mind. Stricker is the Nonproliferation Biodefense Program Deputy. And Jack up there, well, you can figure that on your own. Guancha, a Chinese state-run media outlet, openly called for nuclear strikes on Japan. Booyah! I love it. Nuke those friggers, man. What they done to Earth, they deserve to be the next one. They nuked everybody, so why not nuke them back, right? They certainly nuked Japan, holy shit. After Japan's current, latest, greatest itineration of a prime minister, who knows how long they'll be there or she'll be there. Won't be very long, though. They run through, they're just as bad as France, right? They run through a prime minister every year or so. It's a tradition, right? It's so corrupt, you can't, the prime minister's just there to shake hands and do the closings for the media blitz for whatever deal they're closing, right? The media's going to show up and come out and regurgitate whatever it is the public relation firm wants them to. Tokyo might defend Taiwan. First off, Tokyo occupied Taiwan and North Korea, right? And North Korea for 50 years almost. And they never left there till Nagasaki, Hiroshima. They're overdue for another lesson. They're contaminating several billion pounds of food from a nuclear wasteland and shipping it worldwide every year. Excuse me. The threat underscores Beijing increasing willingness to publicly wield nuclear threats. Sure, everybody's doing it. If you got a nuclear weapon, that's the latest, greatest routine, isn't it? They won't use it because then nobody can cash their checks on Fridays. This time, in the face of Tokyo public support for Taipei, which is bizarre, Taiwan removed restrictions on food from 8 nuclear wastelands. They were like, holy shit, somebody likes us. I think China should nuke Japan. Personally, right after all the perpetual radioactive fallout. I'm Dana, by the way, in case you didn't notice. 709-740-4076 in Canada. In a live show, 709-740, Canada, United States, you feel free. Text me, I'll call you back. 709-740-4076. Numbers on your screen. Your screen. Just bear with me here for 1 second. Where am I to? So we're going to be playing clips, quite a few clips and short videos and longer videos tonight as we talk about CERN, which is the biggest nuclear science project in history. It's beginning to pass all the way up to now from us, but that moment is now over. They're a problem. They're a real problem. I'm going to try to do my best to help articulate that. And I think I put together a proper... We got a couple of physicists. We got PhDs that are going to come out and talk about it for you. Okay, so here's why should... Why... Here we go. Why should China nuke Japan? There's more than one reason, right? So, this is... Officially, this never happened, but that's reactor 3, and China knows it looks like that. And that's reactor 4, and so does the media. That's why they're not angry because of Taiwan. They're angry because they poisoned China with radioactive fallout and the rest of the world. And they're insisting on sending radioactive food to China to poison everybody. And so it's easy to comprehend why the media in China would speak so strongly. They should be nuked for doing this to humanity, right? And 8 million species. They've killed their oceans. They destroyed all the water on the planet and the air on the planet. Now, no, to be fair, the nuclear industry's got 80 years of doing this, but Japan was a pulse event. They should have never built those reactors right out there on the tectonic plates. They're less than 70 kilometers from the tectonic plates. They're on the tectonic plates. The media, working with the International Atomic Energy Agency, China, Taiwan, by the way, South Korea, Japan, the nuclear industry, conspired to deny you the ability to avoid food from the nuclear wasteland, at least that much, which is unfortunately not the entire planet. But from the nuclear wasteland where there's fuel particulates, it's worth avoiding. So this is just a fraction of media pretending they're on top of the Fukushima reactor to your left. Well, what's left of it, the stump, the barely stump that remains. Like the building there's 9 reactor cores gone out of that building. And it's the same thing for reactor 3 to your left. And they put these contraptions over the buildings and then pretend that they were in the building to your right, getting fuel. But actually under the contraption, it looks like that over there. They're not even in Japan. So yes, China should go right ahead and nuke Japan. I got no issues with it. I'll pay for the button on the detonator. I'll pay for the so-called bullet. Japan has now killed our planet. And it's a slow kill from radioactive fallout. That's why the media is pretending they're on top of the building. And Beijing's nuclear ambition is on display. Beijing is not out there. China's not out there attacking. China doesn't have 900 military bases worldwide. CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research. This is the world's largest experiment on the planet. For their opening ceremony, they had a Satan fest, which is bizarre because it's supposed to be a science experiment. And what you're looking at there is deities. Now, there's a couple of lines of thought, and I'll show you why I'm invoking the things I'm invoking. This is one of the hats, crowns. This is typical of Satanism to see these connotations. And then CERN, outside of CERN, is Shiva, the god of destruction, the first god. And it's the god of destruction. This was given by the atomic energy of India to CERN. This is proudly displayed outside of CERN. All right, we got a PhD going to talk about that. And in this depiction, you see it's coming out of a circle. But that circle is important because you see that circle up there, that's the CERN's opening ceremony, by the way. We're going to play some of these videos, quite a bit of this, actually. And we have a couple of interviews we're going to play, 3 different interviews. So the connotation, you're looking at circle. This is, there's indoor activity, then they move it outdoors. And we're going to play those transitions from the actual 2017 opening bizarreness. Now, so the opening of CERN was seeded, littered, whatever you want to call it, saturated with connotations of Satan, the devil, Satanism, and portals. So that circle is a representation of a portal, and they're trying, there's people going to, these are one of them's ex-World Health Organization, well respected, who walked away from them and has quite an amazing story to tell you about the World Health Organization. So this is outside of CERN. Has around 2,700 full-time academic scientists. They have around 12 to 14,000 scientists shows up each year for experiments. This is a huge organization, extremely funded. This is United Nations. So-called. They're, it's a 27-mile underground experiment. It's a 27-mile loop. They're planning on building a 27-kilometer, planning on building a 91-kilometer loop to take particles, speed them up to almost the speed of light and crash them into other particles. The Higgs boson, you've heard probably quite a bit of connotations about that. We're going to start this madness off. First I got to fix the Geiger counter above me up there. I don't want to get up and go over there, so I got a little cheat here to straighten it up. That's all that really matters, right? Open up the lift a little bit. There we go, so you can actually see it. I apologize for the small details. I'm normally pretty good with this stuff. And so I got close-up pictures of the sign. I'll get that after. This is quite complicated story to talk about. So we're just going to dive right in. We're going to start with a couple moments of this just as an introduction. See, that's a portal up there, and see the entities that are on the stage. Allegedly, that's what's... They're hoping to bring entities from a different dimension, and there's allegedly 17 dimensions, into our dimension where they can cause havoc or even worse. Now, some says it's about time travel. That round circle is representation of a portal. This is the official opening. It's been up and running before, right? This is the official opening. And again, that's a depiction, I'm assuming, of Lucifer, the devil, or Satan, or... So it's 27 kilometers of this. All your precious metals. You ever wonder where it's gone? All right. Stuckenberger is being interviewed, Dr. Astrid Stuckenberger. She worked for the World Health Organization and she quit. And she was scared for her life. When she left and spoke out, she was demonized heavily in Europe to the point where she wouldn't go back to France for over a year. English is not her first language. She's going to talk about portals and her experience talking to physicists from the CERN. And it's just part of the equation I'm going to bring to you tonight. It's very important facet. So I'll be back after that.
So,
okay, so they've been taking these particles, smashing them together to see what comes of them. And I've heard everything from they have created black holes to they are trying to create wormholes so that they can help us figure out how we can travel through the universe. But you heard some things about portals. So tell us a little bit about what you've learned about possible portals opening up in CERN.
yeah, first, the black hole thing, because black hole, there's no application. It was written on even on the website of CERN. They work with antimatter, and they work with portals, and they have all the thing of time. They want to collude the particles, so they put the particles in this lower collidron, at LHC, I will call it, this huge loop of 27 kilometers that they want to build now to 91 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
And they put it to the speed of light, and they want to collude all these particles so that the explosion will open something, a part of the portal, or some new beings coming out. And they even said that. So if you want the portal, yeah, I have a story to say, and we can come back to this experiments that are, and what they said on the 8th. I have a quote here of the director of research on the eclipse day, what they want to do. But so when I was always intrigued by CERN, and there are two perspectives why. One is because in the what is happening with the WHO in the epidemic of typology that I was in charge of for 3.5 years at WHO to teach, there was a typology on infectious disease, but I mean, it's bacteria, parasites. It's not just obsession with virus. My viromania, actually, we know it does not even exist. You know, it's a detox. And the second was foodborne disease. The third was chemical, and that's why the cremicine has to take care of all that. You know, when there are deaths. And the last one is radionuclear. So I was inviting people from the Atomic Agency, International Energy Atomic Agency in Vienna, and they were collaborating with CERN. And the students could ask questions, but I always ask questions. And I said, is it dangerous to be near CERN? And are there particles? And is there a surge in cancer? Have you noticed that people are more sick in this? And he said, oh, no. They're denying that radionuclear events are even creating thyroid cancer, which is proven. So that was my first very big question. I was like, CERN is here. They're doing subatomic explosion. And, it's like radionuclear. And we don't have, maybe we're going to disappear in a black hole. I was like, what's going to happen? So that was the first, I've always questioned, they were very strange and stuff. So then forward to 2016, I was invited to, kind of marriage dinner, very nice. And they seated me with two physicians from the CERN. And I said, fantastic. I said, I'm going to ask them all those questions.
Jackpot.
So, yeah, it was great. And so they were from Portugal. And because it was in Portugal, this dinner. And So I said, the first thing I'm very interested in is how many dimensions do we have in this world? Because we call 3D, 4D, 5D, and there's a lot of discussions and something that always intrigued me. So they both affirmed 17.
Oh,
17. I said, but where is this written? Can I find something? Can you give me some document? They did not give me any link, any document. It was like, no, we just know there are 17 dimensions. Okay, and I said, so what special can you tell me about those 17 dimensions? How far did you explore? That's when they talked about the portal. And on the picture you showed, that's the type of portal we see in Stargate, right? This thing, yeah, exactly. So the movies in Hollywood have kind of warned us. Everybody tells me I should watch all the Stargate because that's where a lot of the truth has come. But so this portal, they have many different labs and rooms with portals, and this big LHC, 27 kilometers around. But they explained to me that they were not in the experiment, but their friends were from the CERN in Geneva, that they asked for beings to come from the portal, from other dimensions, and a being came. I call it being because I said, so can you describe? And they said, no, we can't. We don't know. So maybe they know and they couldn't talk about it. And I said, but how do you know it's really not invented? And he said that they did it again a few times, and once clothes were left, a scarf. And again, question, how was the scarf, and etc. But they didn't know. But it's a known fact in the CERN. And I said with that, like perplexed, because I said, how come that nobody talks about this happened, with the eclipse and everything? I said, yeah, makes sense. And I spoke about Apollonian and this, with Maria Z on the TV, her TV.
So she's talking about an entity coming through a portal. It was their friends that were there. They're physicists too, right, at CERN. They have friends that are working in acquaintances, I would imagine, right? One big happy family. Now, the director was hoping for that particular outcome, and he had talked about that and even wrote about it. So, I'm just saying, there's a few parts to this CERN that you got to take into consideration. And you can find her full video up on BitChute, I would imagine. Her name was there. Found in 1954, the laboratory sits astride the Franco-Swiss border. It's a couple of 100 feet plus below the surface. It has immunity from these countries. It's like its own little weird entity in the middle of nowhere. Now, the mountain that it's on is very important too. It's considered like an altar. It used to be a sacred mountain, and it has a unique energy. It was one of Europe's first joint ventures. Now has 25 member states. Intergovernmental meeting of UNESCO, which is UN, of course. So they kicked it off in 1951. UNESCO, I'll get back up on the bigger screen for you. UNESCO is it's all United Nations. Well, United Nations has these member states because United Nations is a broke-ass bitch. And all these countries will give them money for all their different projects. International Atomic Energy Agency was down to Japan this year to pick up a $14 million check. In Paris in December 1951, just after Nagasaki, Hiroshima, right? Everything was nuclear after once Nagasaki Hiroshima happened, UN changed its name from League of Nations to United Nations, created all these other entities, UNSCLEAR, ERPA, the IPRC, International Atomic Energy Agency, and imposed themselves on all nuclear countries, even though they have no sovereignty to any country. The first resolution concerning the establishment of a European Council for Nuclear Research. So not having sovereignty over a country means they can't penalize. They're not a regulatory agency of any means or shape or forms because they don't have sovereignty in the country, right? The first resolution concerning the establishment of a European Council for Nuclear Research. The Large Hadron Collider, LHC, is the world's largest, most powerful particle accelerator. It's the biggest science experiment, as far as I know, on the planet. First, well, besides 1,000 fuel pools splitting atoms into an environment that are each surrounded by farms, as far as you can see, very productive farms. First started up on the 10th of September 2008 and remains the latest addition to CERN's accelerator complex. They had another accelerator there or something, I believe, before that. Consists of a 27-kilometer ring, 18 miles, I think it is. Superconducting magnets with a number of accelerating structures to boost the energy of the particles along. In order to get up full speed, it's using the same amount of electricity as you would in, what's the big city there again? Not Marseille, but Geneva, or I can't even remember now. Same amount of power as a big city anyway. And they had 3 sixes in their logo. 3 sixes. Of course, 3 sixes is strong connotations of Lucifer, demons, devils, Satan worshippers, Satanism, stuff like that. Because there is a huge amount of people on the planet. Now, everybody you're seeing, like you see all these people in the red, like jumpsuits, like they're construction workers, or they're all professional actors and dancers. And so you might see stuff here that looks a little goofy to you. But these are all suits, $5,000 suits and dirty underwear. These are very prestigious people. This is a big deal what they're doing there. They spent a ridiculous amount of money to put this off. This is the first 5 minutes of the ceremonies. We're going to take it through a few different sections. We got a couple of interviews coming up right behind it. Here we go. So I'm going to try to catch volume because there'll be the idea of what they're doing here is there's a lot of disorienting noises on purpose. There's a lot of people in the backgrounds moving around. That's all on purpose. Everything is choreographed. This is a high-level production that was put off. It was an enormous amount. I wouldn't be surprised if they spent $4, $5, $6 million that day putting this whole thing in order to put it all together, and then the whole complex. Right, here we go. So this is the opening, and it's very confusing. Remember, this is based upon the devil, different dimensions, entities, and many things I'm not aware of. We'll be back after this. So let me go backwards for you. So you see these people, they're no smiling on their face. They're very serious. They're blank, right? And they march on through. And they go on through. And then this train. So remember the train? They were dancing the same. Okay. Now when that train, that keeps going and goes out on through the building, it comes back. And then the people on the train are very passive. And when you look at them, they all... Here we go, let me go backwards. So look at the way their mouths are. Like now they don't have a soul. Now they're empty. They're just zombied. Like they were screaming and then they were stuck in that mode. Right? It's really dark what we're looking at. Okay. So HPAN, HPA, New World Order TV Blogspot. A hell of a nice guy, actually. Ben Porter, I think it is, but you can find him through those links. He put together a really interesting presentation on CERN that definitely took some pretty good insight.
Now, supposing
This
the
is
LHC
him
is
now.
dangerous. If it is dangerous, could it be intended to be? This is an important point. And I've amended my viewpoints on more than one occasion since I first wrote about this in 2008. The power of the LHC is still increasing, and it's due to reach full steam sometime about now, actually. Now, there's actually a statue outside the CERN laboratory decorating its front entrance. It's not one of Albert Einstein. It's not one of Isaac Newton. It's a statue of the Hindu god Shiva. This one, you can see before you now. Now, Shiva is the oldest recorded deity on Earth, and his image appears on cylinder seals found in the ruins of ancient civilization in that part of the world. And he is a supreme god in the Hindu mythology. He's the most mighty of them all. I say he, but he's sometimes a she. Gods don't have a human gender in Hindu mythology. And he's charged with the destruction and transformation. So he's a very strange figure to decorate a scientific institute with, I would say. Now, the statue was donated by the Department of Atomic Energy in India. Now, I've said before many times that the Illuminati love mythological and occult symbolism. And this reference to the Hindu pantheon is not without precedent in scientific works to create means of great destruction. In 1945, a very perturbed and regretful Robert Oppenheimer was interviewed on film shortly after the Trinity test, where the first atomic bomb was exploded. And he said,
and I'm going to play that for you.
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
I think what he was alluding to was they were well aware of the isotopes would never go away. You have everything you're consuming is being ionized and radiated, and those atoms and isotopes will hunt down every species human that it can find and poison them. All the water, land for millions of years. You don't need nuclear weapons. You just need fuel pools to destroy Earth. So this was the building blocks. July, the final draft of the CERN Convention was agreed upon, signed by 12, being paid for by 12 member states. UN doesn't have any money. It's depending on all the countries that throw money at them, right? It's a pretty outdated and dangerous and now a ruthless entity we have to deal with. All right, so you remember these guys in the orange suits, the actors, the professional dancers, artists, hanging upside down. So they're rolling out connotations of Lucifer's dimensions, portals. This is a little bit later in that same. This is the opening day still. We're going to be showing you footage of that, and there's an interview coming up right after this. This really interesting from two different physicists. Chicken necks. And so antlers on the people on the ropes, there's one guy with a set of antlers. And then the horns, these are connotations of, see the chicken necks in the audience, the suits, look at that. The dignitaries, the economic forums, little lapdogs. So you can see the antlers in that. Okay, so CERN media has said that they're not a death cult, they're not worshiping the devil, there's nothing, outside of science. Well, then how do you explain the opening ceremonies? But there's much more to it than that. This goes all the way back to League of Nations pre-Nagasaki Hiroshima. And Dr. Stuckelberger, and the name of her is on her video I played earlier, right? It's worth listening to what she has to say about CERN. She was high-level World Health Organization. She has an incredible education. And she realized these are very dangerous people, and she doesn't want any part of this. And they let her know pretty quick. It didn't silence her, but it came close to it. So this is from Porter. I was showing you earlier, right? You'll find him at these links here. Anyway.
He's an expert in physics.
So this was George Norrie interviewing a physicist who was an expert on CERN. So he has some, this is the biggest nuclear experiment on the planet. So just under that merit alone, it's worth a deep dive, right? Now, I'm still not doing a deep dive, but I am showing you there's a whole lot of weird stuff going on, and I'm going to show you a fraction tonight, unfortunately. My apologies. I'll be back after this. This is 2 excellent short interviews back to back, and I'll be right back.
He's an expert in physics. He's an expert on what's going on at CERN, and he's our guest this hour. Walter, how are you?
Good evening, George. I'm doing great.
Good. Now CERN, they're going to turn that on soon, aren't they?
Well, it's already in the cool-down stage. It's not just a single switch that you do. It's a very complex process. And the large 27-kilometer diameter ring where the particles will be accelerated has to be operated at a temperature of about 2 degrees Kelvin. That's the temperature of outer space. And that takes a long process of cool-down, starting off initially with liquid nitrogen to cool it down to liquid nitrogen temperatures, and later with liquid helium to cool it down to liquid helium temperatures. And they're in that process. It'll be about another month before it's reached operational temperature. And then they have to inject beam into the ring, and that takes a couple of months to get that done if everything goes according to the design.
Now, Walter, this particle accelerator is built underground, correct?
Yes, it is.
How far down is it?
Oh, it varies, of course, from the surface. It's on the order of 70 meters or so. It's not real deep. I believe it's in some places 100 meters. It's underground because when you are running these high-speed protons or other particles through this ring, they produce what's called synchrotron radiation. And that is a very high-energy photon, very penetrating, and it goes through several feet of dirt. And so put it under 100 feet of dirt, and you're safe.
So that's why they went down that way.
That's why, right. It makes it a lot easier. Also, it out of sight, out of mind. They don't have people thinking about it.
Now, are we correct, those of us who think that something could happen if this isn't done right? Or are we way off base?
We're exactly correct, George, and that's the unfortunate part about this. There have been reviews that have been done that have confirmed the things that I have been saying. Reviews done by the people at CERN themselves, and so it has given them cause for great concern. And in addition, the great promotion of Hawking radiation as being the fail-safe that would save us is also admitted that it's a 50-50 chance of whether it would work or not. So we're looking at something that has the potential to be very disastrous without any kind of a safety net that we can use to prevent anything bad from happening.
Okay, now tell us, Walter, what's the downside here then? I mean, what could go wrong?
Well, probably the easiest one for people to understand is the potential for creating a small black hole. There are, under normal theories, these things would not be created because there's not enough mass involved in when these two particles collide together. You end up with the mass of several thousand atoms squeezed into a very small volume. And under most theories, that's not enough to make a black hole. But under some theories involving extra dimensions of space and time that we don't normally see in our three-dimensional space, one-time dimension in which we walk around in, if there are additional dimensions, it's possible that it would allow for the creation of a miniature black hole or micro black hole. And there are some theorists who have predicted that this could be the case, and that the energies, or the energy density, I should say, of the Large Hadron Collider might be able to create such a creature. And if that were the case, it could potentially grow larger and eventually, over the course of decades to millennia, devour the Earth.
Literally suck the planet right in.
Well, yes, it would not occur instantaneously because it would start off so small that it would have a difficulty interacting with the atoms, with the nuclei of the atoms of the Earth initially. But eventually, as it slowly did, every now and then it would interact and suck in a nucleus. Over time, it would get larger, and that process would accelerate. And so eventually it would be able to do it at a very rapid rate. And how long that would take, no one knows. There are estimates. One theorist in Germany, Otto Rissler, has estimated it could be as short as 5 years. I've seen other people say it could be as long as 1 billion years, and everything in between. We really have no way of knowing.
What a bizarre story. Okay, if for some reason, well, let me ask you this. Is that only in the event something technically goes wrong with their experiments, or by the mere fact that they get it running in 3 to 4 months, that it will be created automatically? It's going to happen regardless.
Well, it would happen automatically. Yes, it's not like if something goes wrong. They're trying to create new matter, new forms of matter that have never been seen before on Earth, and there are several different theories as to what kinds of things can be created, and some of the theories are that you could create a micro black hole. There's another particle called a strangelet that some theories predict might be able to be created as well, and it would have a similar kind of disastrous consequence, but exactly the opposite, actually. It would end up in a runaway fusion reaction, creating atoms into itself and growing larger, but releasing fusion energy, and eventually would heat the Earth up to where the Earth exploded. Instead of imploding like a black hole, it would explode like a supernova.
Initially, if this happens, where would it be? Would it be centered around CERN in Switzerland? Is that where, let's say, this little mini black hole might be?
No. It would, if it were to make one, most of them would be at very high speed relative to Earth, nowhere near the speed of light, but still several 100,000 miles per hour. But there would be a few of them that would be at below the escape velocity for Earth, which most people know is 25,000 miles per hour, to break away from Earth's gravitational pull completely, so you get to leave the Earth and are no longer a satellite around our planet. But if there are some of these black holes are produced with speeds below that, they would become a satellite, if you will, around planet Earth and orbit around and through our planet.
How weird!
It would spend perhaps an hour traveling through the planet, and then several hours up into space, and then back down for an hour through the planet, and several hours up through space, and just keep on in an orbit like that. Every time it sucked up an atom and grew a little bit larger, its orbit would shrink a little bit, grow a little bit smaller. Eventually, its orbit would be entirely within the Earth, and eventually orbit would start shrinking small enough that it would sink towards the center of the Earth.
Oh, maybe it's not nice to play around with Mother Nature, Dr. Wagner, huh?
Well, it depends on how you're playing around with it. There's nothing wrong with doing passive experiments or observing what Mother Nature puts out there. We have a lot of satellites out there observing nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. We have telescopes observing nature. There are a lot of things we have done which we have very good control over, and there's nothing wrong with doing those kinds of works. Some people have said, well, if we never experimented with nature, we'd never acquired fire, and that's true. So there are some experimentations that's perfectly acceptable. But once you have identified some problems, you have to be able to prove that they're not going to happen. It'd be the same, no different than if you built a dam over an earthquake fault, and later on you found out there was a...
Welcome, everyone. We are here to discuss a topic that has recently sparked interest. I'm here with Dr. Walter Wagner. So tell me, Dr. Wagner, why did you become so interested in such a controversial but yet unusual subject?
Well, I became interested in this about 10 years ago when it was first being planned. And I have a strong interest in astrophysics and cosmic radiation physics and this kind of research. And my interest in this field made me realize that there is a potential for creating new kinds of particles with this collider that have never been created before. And that there is a potential hazard associated with that if some of these new particles don't disappear. If they end up lingering and lasting, they could potentially end up being disastrous for our planet.
And when is this experiment going to take place?
Well, there is no firm date set as of yet here in June of 2008, but it is estimated that they will be ready to begin the experiment sometime in late 2008, possibly October or November.
And what are the possible side effects from this experiment?
Well, if it creates this waste product that we've discussed with a number of scientists, this waste product could be either a micro black hole or a strangelet. There are two different scenarios that could conceivably occur. One of those is in which the micro black hole doesn't disappear quickly the way it's anticipated will happen. Instead, that it would be able to possibly grow larger and become a small black hole, consuming the entire planet. The other one is if a strangelet were to be formed and did not rapidly disappear, if it were to then start adding on other atoms to itself in a non-stop fusion reaction, it would eventually consume the Earth and make it into a supernova.
Wow. So I understand that you have a lawsuit against CERN. Tell me, what is this lawsuit going to do, and who is CERN?
Yeah, CERN is an acronym, and it's actually the European Center for Nuclear Energy Research, and the CERN is actually the old acronym name they still use. And it's located in France and Switzerland, right on the border, and it is a 27-kilometer diameter machine, and the lawsuit that we filed was filed in March, and we filed it because we were initially told by the CERN management that they would have a new safety study addressing these issues that had been overlooked in previous safety studies, and that this would come out on January 1st of 2008, if not before. And that didn't happen. So 2 months later, they were supposed to have released it based on a letter they wrote me, and that would have been March 1st of 2008, and they still didn't release it. So not long after, we decided that we should file a lawsuit to make certain it gets released and that these issues are thoroughly addressed, not only by CERN, but that other people can have a chance to review their work, because these are the kinds of scenarios that are just too serious of a concern to leave to persons who have a personal and financial interest at stake, as well as their scientific interest.
So what are some of the ways you have raised public awareness with this experiment?
Well, of course, the lawsuit has raised a lot of awareness. I have also developed a website. Other people have developed websites. I blog on a number of other science forum websites, and I exchange emails with a number of scientists about this.
And why isn't this controversial topic publicized in the news?
Well, it's been in the news some, not anywhere near as much as I would like to see it, because by being in the news, it's putting pressure on CERN to come up with and release this safety study, which they have delayed doing. The reason they've delayed it, I believe, is because they have not been able to refute some of these disastrous scenarios. As to why it's not in greater interest, I think it's partly because it's still several months away before they're ready to begin, and I think it's also partly because people don't like to think about this. It's too depressing.
Yeah, they don't want to believe that the world...
They don't want to believe that this is something that was overlooked. CERN didn't want to believe that this was something that was overlooked, and it in fact is. They've recognized that now, that there are some safety issues that were not addressed initially in previous safety studies that are a very serious concern, and they've made some fundamental errors in their previous safety studies, which we pointed out to them, and that's somewhat embarrassing for them.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Wagner. I hope that your initiative will raise the awareness of this particular experiment. And
so there's some weird stuff going on, right? So they're talking about radiation. Now look where this is situated, so prime farmland, and I mean prime farmland. They couldn't make it fit there any perfecter into that farmland that's actually available there, look. Well, every nuclear power plant except for a couple are surrounded by farms as far as you can see. CERN is capable of producing huge amounts of radiation. And so if they got to vent it, guess where it's going to get vented to? And you know they're going to have the ability to vent it. They do this at every nuclear power plant on the planet because the fuel pools are splitting atoms. So how do you get rid of the high radiation locally if you're producing this material and you can't contain it? Well, you put it in prime farmland. That's what we see worldwide. There's 1,000 fuel pools in prime farmland. Each of the fuel pool now got 30, 40, 50 years of fuel, splitting atoms. And they're adding more every year. So more atoms produced from each pool, 1,000 pools. And farmland is not just going to stop right there, it'll cover your whole planet. Okay, so back to CERN. This is their opening ceremony. And what it looks like to me anyway, and the evidence we're seeing, and I got high quality pictures coming up after, is they're worshiping the devil. They're doing not science, but death cult material.
Hami.
Sancta Barbara, beschütz alle, wo künftig die Röhre durchsüßen und verschon uns vor jeglicher Art von Unglück.
Now, they're up in the mountains on the Swiss and the French border. So Switzerland are known for yodeling. But that mountain used to have a very, very unique and important altar. Same place as they're situated right now. What have we achieved since then? CERN began in 1954. And they had to, get a whole bunch of countries to throw money at them. They control the university, so they had all the talent they could ever hope for. So this is where they're transitioning to outdoors. And I'll be right back now. That's about a minute or something long. Okay, so CERN have a whole bunch of science department experiments that are literally, figuratively out of this world. They also have a lot of supportive institutions, and they're making that clear. I'll show you what that means coming up after. This is outdoors. Looks like they're dead. Remember the guys started off with them suits on. It starts off with a mountain in the background of this screen. This is a big screen. Now you can see that's a portal you're looking at. The people in the portal are like the people that you seen earlier, right? Black hole slash portal slash time machine slash. These look like military. This looks like nuns. I could be 100% wrong. So, we'll bump ahead of this. This is the opening day ceremonies. Now you can really see a portal. Now you're actually seeing a portal. Right? That's an actual portal. So this incredible portal. And I guess that's gods that are coming through, or... So they've literally opened the portal multiple times, as I showed you earlier. That's pretty reliable sources. And there's been a stupid amount of speculation because they actually talked about this on their site. I was trying to find it today. I see more connotations of Lucifer, the devil, the demon again and again and again. So they're worshipping the devil blatantly, openly. Wow. With all the dignitaries. Yeah, casting a spell, somebody said in the comment section. Yes, you heard. So now you're seeing an entity in the portal. So what language is this? Is this the language of pain? The sacred beetle, they find him in all the tombs from the pharaohs. It's a very important symbolism. It's all about symbolism, sure. This is connotations of the devil. Radioactive tumbleweed. It's funny. It's the right way to think about it too, because nuclear is your issue. So outside of CERN is this statue of Shiva, the god of destruction, given to CERN by the Indian Atomic Energy Agency. And they display it proud. But I mean, when you're looking at what they're doing for the whole ceremony, you got portals, and like Stuckenberger was saying, there was an entity came through multiple times, and at one point they left a scarf behind. that's a pretty hard thing to keep secret in a place like that. So clearly this is Satanism. They're worshiping the devil. They're invoking cultish death cults at that. And destruction. So the black holes, there were two physicists were talking about the possibilities of supernovas on our planet, of black holes, because now, there was a whisper they wanted a ring going around the entire planet for their experiment, but it was just too daunting of a task currently. With the humanoid robots coming around the corner, they might be able to bring it to fruition, right? They have a seemingly inexhaustible amount of money, influence, talent, equipment, science. Computer now is, when we married computers to hydraulics, we kind of cracked the code of robotics, right? That was the eureka moment when they fulfilled that. And now the power is so enormous in a chip. So it's very concerning is what I'm trying to show you tonight, that this is going on. And now you're seeing people, part of the actors, the professional musicians, you notice they're always wearing something on their head. There's a big cult of Satanism on this planet. It's incredible, right? They're everywhere. People they just play along. You see these sticks on their heads? That's like a lot of the Hollywood movies use that connotation to invoke Lucifer and Satan and evil deeds. There is things this world, most people on this planet are not aware of. There really is something going on long before we got here, and it's still here. There really is. There are entities the government allegedly reached agreement with in the 40s or 50s. Very powerful entities. There's all kinds of. Have you ever heard DUMB, D-U-M-B, deep underground military bases? You're getting to some weird stuff when you start actually looking down that highway. New Jersey, you remember they were building a nuclear power plant there, and it just, for some reason, never just got abandoned, basically, right? It wasn't. All that material was taken deep underground, and they built a nuclear plant down there on the east coast of the United States. Under the guise, they were able to do it secretively by pretending they were building another nuclear plant, but there was all these controversies, and it just kind of sat there, and all equipment was being bought, the money was raised and given to them on purpose. That was their cover story. And they built a large reactor underground, way underground. They've cracked that technology for tunneling a long time ago. What's CERN's mission? Apparently it's to delve into Satanism, black holes, portals. Apparently they've had portals now quite a bit. There's quite a few secret type rooms there at CERN that are used for. There's quite a few portals there, is what they're saying. They know they can do it. They've got some success at it, and then they expanded it. They have endless amount of precious metals and resources to mess with, right? And three sixes upside down, so to speak. Well, all of them, none of them are in the correct spot, right? So they're upside down. That puts you in the realm of the cult, Satanism, and everything else. And it's pretty easy to see that they put all the fuel pools in the prime farmland. It's a death cult. How do you deny that? The antimatter experiment. Now, there was a whole bunch. They have a big list on their site of research and experiments that they're doing. I obviously clicked on the antimatter because nobody should be playing with that. These institutions were playing a big part, funding, I'm sure, and equipment and talent and computer and everything else. And I just thought I might include them in my gatherings. All right. So laser cooling's collaboration meeting at CERN, December 2020. These are just some recent pictures. And I gotta admit, when I'm looking at the pictures, I'm zooming in on them. There's something weird about it, right? Like, there's something weird about each one of them when I was zooming in on their faces and that. I was like, I'm missing something. Irradiation Facilities website and database. Man, that's not stuff you want to see. Look at the word radnet. How many people used that back at Fukushima? Got hoodwinked. The physics of treating cancer begins with biology. CERN, up in the top corner. Cancer is a genocide. I'll explain that. I'll quantify that assertion. Cancer therapy, radiation therapy is genocide. It's been going on since radon. It's never stopped, right? It's in prime farmland, so any radiation gets sucked up by the farmers and poisons people. That's their typical modus operandi. It's an enormous machine, 27 kilometers. Imagine the precious resources. Like, they have to drop the temperature down to the same as space, outer space, right? To get a few more tricks out of their pie. So when I zoomed in, omnipresent, the embodiment of all virtues, the creator of this cosmic universe, the king of dancers who dances the Amada Tandera in the twilight. I salute thee. Presented by the Department of the Atomic Energy Government of India. Donated that to CERN. So these countries are in on us. It's just more evidence that you have to be worried about. The acronym CERN is also used to refer to the laboratory. In 2024, it had 2,704 scientific, technical, administrative staff members and hosted about 12,400 users from institutions in more than 80 countries. So in other words, they had 80 countries donating man hours, which came with money, I'm sure, and everything else, right? CERN is also the birthplace of the World Wide Web. And they created that so they can bring their crazy fantasies to fruition a lot quicker, right? And then we got hold of it. The convention established in CERN was ratified on the 29th of September 1954 by 12 countries. So there was 12 countries funding it. The United Nations doesn't fund anything on their own. They take money from the countries. The signatory members, I mean. Well, somebody in your country signed a piece of paper. Now everybody in your country has to donate to us. It's even worse than you think. Remember UNICEF? All the kids in school would get a UNICEF box to send to United Nations. So they can hire a bunch of playgirl, playboys, and drugs and get on debauchery parties in their pursuit of their cult. European Organization for Nuke, because it didn't go to the kids, I can tell you that much. Well, they might have went to the kids, but not the money. European Organizations for Nuclear Research, 1954. So these creatures have been around a very long time. There's many administrations and generations. CERN was the first president was Sir bent over for all kinds of sirs. The laboratory was originally devoted to the study of the atomic nuclide. The 12 founding members, the people that are supporting UN's whims, scientific achievements, they consider lots. Discovery of a boson, the Higgs boson in particular. Not actually opening portals to other dimensions. So they even get this on their site, quoted by Voice apparently. But then why would that be there if that wasn't so, right? If they weren't worshipping, trying to open portals, why were they invoking all of this stuff? Fallen angels, Luciferian wardrobe. Switzerland Tunnel, the oldest moments of the opening ceremony, right? Look at the head on that. Remember this guy and this one, fallen angels. And look at these whack jobs. You got like the suits. What I call zombies. They're only there because they're willing to sell out everybody's soul on the planet so they can succeed. Right, the connotations of the devil again. And entities from a different dimension, whether they're like us or not, I don't know. I shouldn't. Prankster, now they did have, and then they come out to cover it up. Prankster scientists performed a fake human sacrifice at the opening ceremony. I'm assuming they're talking about a fake human sacrifice. How do we know if it's fake when it's in a place where they can't even be prosecuted? Investigation, and it wouldn't surprise me for them to kill somebody there if it was a sacrifice. That's definitely in line with everything we're seeing. I'm pretty sure they've done it, but I don't think they would have done it publicly. An investigation has just been launched to a newly surfaced video of a mock human sacrifice at CERN's particle physics laboratories in Geneva, Switzerland, The Guardian reported. Europe's top physics lab, home of the Large Hadron Collider, the biggest nuclear experiment on the planet, has a large statue of the Hindu deity Shiva on its campus, the god of destruction, in front of which black-cloaked figures gathered and stabbed a woman. So he went out in front of the statue and stabbed a woman in front of the god of destruction at the CERN. Because CERN has tight security, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they got 1,000 security guards there to protect the little chicken necks. Those who participated in the staged occult ritual must have had an SS badges, presumably scientists. Maybe it was one of these dressed up. They were there. Doesn't have to just be the scientists that are crazy. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch there that is the average person who knows them will say they're batshit crazy. The resources that goes into it is just next level. Yeah, but you're looking at a cult, death occult on top of that. This is the nuclear industry. This is their portal. This is unassailable documentation that this industry is completely out of control. And they have no checks and balances. You can't remove any of them. They have actually, if I remember correctly, they actually have immunity in the UN. They're running the War Crimes Tribunal. They're running the Crimes Against Humanity tribunals, right? They're running your planet, whether you believe me or not. They're running your planet. You're running out of time. Fukushima's made sure of that. We broke the food chain like you can't even conceive. What's that? I wonder, what's this? See, this is in line with what we're seeing, right? These were zombies. I don't know what the act is. I'm not privy to that information, unfortunately. Not actually opening portals. If you're not opening portals, why are we seeing stuff like that? Why are we seeing stuff like this? Why are we seeing portals? If you're not trying to open portals, why is there from different dimensions? Some phenomenon encountered in particle physics must be described as portals in a metaphorical sense. They do not align with the science fiction notice of portals. Well, science fiction is science fiction. Portals could easily be something different, right? CERN is an official United Nations General Assembly observer. So they're their own country, basically. Think about that statement, this incredible statement. Let's come back to, now that we've seen everything, she has incredible amount of credibility. Dr. Astrid Struckelberger.
So I said the first thing I'm very interested in is how many dimensions do we have in this world?
So she was invited over to a dinner. Like it was like a wedding or something. And she was seated between two physicists who works at CERN. And when she asked them about portals, they're going to talk about other scientists that they know that also work at CERN told them. It's very, just can't be disregarded, see?
Because we call 3D, 4D, 5D, and there's a lot of discussions and something that always intrigued me. So they both affirmed 17.
Oh,
17. I said, but where is this written? Can I find something? Can you give me some document? They did not give me any link, any document. It was like, no, we just know there are 17 dimensions. Okay, and I said, so what special can you tell me about those 17 dimensions? How far did you explore? That's when they talked about the portal. And on the picture you showed, that's the type of portal we see in Stargate, right? This thing, yeah, exactly. So the movies in Hollywood have kind of warned us. Everybody tells me I should watch all the Stargate because that's where a lot of the truth has come. But so this portal, they have many different labs and rooms with portals, and this big LHC, 27 kilometers.
So many different labs and rooms with portals, that makes sense, right? You're talking about a 27-kilometer circle. You can put a few rooms here and there out of the way if you really wanted to, if you had the money and the... Because one portal might not be enough. They might need another portal over here to try another portal over there. And they're getting similar results, right? They're going to start, focusing in on where they should have it. It has something to do with the fact that there was a huge altar on that mountain, an ancient sacrificial altar, so to speak.
Around. But they explained to me that they know not were not in the experiment, but their friends were from the CERN in Geneva, that they asked for beings to come from the portal, from other dimensions, and a being came. I call it being because I said, so can you describe? And they said, no, we can't. We don't know. So maybe they know and they couldn't talk about it. And I said, but how do you know it's really not invented? And he said that they did it again a few times, and once clothes were left, a scarf. And again, question, how was the scarf, and etc. But they didn't know, but it's a known fact in the CERN. And I said with that.
So an entity came through a portal and left a scarf, a piece of clothing. Now, they've had the entities, and I think they can keep it open for around 30 seconds or something, I've heard in some of these conversations. Was there like the most? United Nations, with their history, are the very, 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 very last organization on the planet that should have any access to this stuff. All the nuclear fuel pools, there's 1,000 of them worldwide, are splitting atoms directly into farms.
Like perplexed, because I said, how come that nobody talks about?
Sorry.
Like perplexed, because I said, how come that nobody talks about? This happened, with the eclipse and everything. I said, yeah, makes sense. And I spoke about Apollonian and this, with Maria Z on the TV, her TV 2 years ago, the first time. It was very important. I said, yeah.
So
in fact, CERN is built on a altar.
The scarf, the leaving of the scarf behind, that shifts my thought process a lot, because I know that one thing CERN is wanting to do is work on time travel. So is it possible that the being that they were coming in contact with was a human from a different time period? Because when you think scarf, you definitely think human. We don't hear about demons or aliens or what have you leaving scarves, but not to say that they couldn't, of course. But that makes me think more time travel than opening a portal to another planet or universe or what have you.
Well, they describe that they are time portal. That's one of their topics. It's there on CERN. I don't know if they've put it lately, but I never saw that before. This Mandela effect. They put the news and they say, no, it was always there, and you start doubting about your past.
Yeah.
So.
Right. So when you look at the footage, what they were doing, they were worshiping the devil. Ontario greenlights Pickering Nuclear Generating Station in Lake Ontario, the third biggest aquifer on the entire planet. $26 billion or something. Refurbishment. How come they don't build one with that kind of money to just replace it? I'm not saying they should. I'm just create tens of thousands of jobs. Yeah, and they all need whatever money they make then to pay for the cancer from working on a nuclear, incredibly radioactive neutron bombarded and brittled. Like that video of James earlier, that was really a really cool way to talk about embrittlement, right? That was just freaking brilliant. That I started off with. That was a brilliant way to introduce that into a conversation. I don't think he's making any friends in the nuclear industry. But clearly he's on track, right? He's going down the rabbit hole now where I haven't even gone, so I gotta love it. I always loved that Jetson Age stuff anyway. A lot of people do, right? That's what I mean by that. You know, I don't not like I seek it out, but when you see it, it's pretty cool. While sustaining 6,700 jobs, so if you do geothermal, you only need to hire 40 people for each year instead of 6,700 people, and you got to do $100 million maintenance every year at your nuclear plant. Geothermal is probably 40,000-50,000 bucks for a few this and a few of that. Why do nuclear? It's just disgusting. It's the dirtiest, the most lethal. The fuel pools will be hemorrhaging radiation for another how many years? My goodness. Creating 30,000 jobs in the background. That's so pathetic, eh? To have that up there in the background. We're not evil. We're good people. They're not. Why do they always look so weird? They always I hope nobody sees me. Pickering B unit would require complete refurbishment. If you took that money, by the way, and spent it on geothermal, you'll be finished in 2 or 3 years, and you'll have twice the energy without poisoning everybody 24 hours a day with the fuel pools. The fuel pools would kill everything eventually. This is madness. Stop recycling. Recycling nuclear fuel to be used in cancer therapy. After 80 years, they finally ran out of isotopes. Nothing worked. Killed everything they touched. So, hey, there's used fuel. Yeah, really? Yeah, I know a guy who knows a bunch of homeless people. The Government Science Agency, this is United Kingdom, which is like saying the SS or something, has been awarded $9.9 million. Really? $9.9 million? That's it? When you potentially kill 1 billion people with radiation, you're only going to throw I shouldn't say anything, I suppose, to produce cutting-edge cancer treatment. Cutting edge. Aren't you sick of hearing that after 80 years? Radiation therapy. I'll explain that to you. Nuclear fuel used to power homes is said to be recycled to help develop life-saving therapies for hard-to-treat cancers. That you got from the radiation in the first place. They're so evil, they just don't know it, right? They think it's normal, right? Their parents done it, their aunts and uncles done it, their great-grandparents. Just like Jimmy's aunt there today at the beginning of the show. They're just like zombies themselves. Therapies. How dare them use that word? Therapies for hard-to-treat cancers. My God. How heartless are these people? They're going to use nuclear fuel. How is it they're running out of anything in that industry? Because it's the industry of death. So how the hell do they run out of anything? $9.9 million to use nuclear fuel. So they put in a proposal for $600,000, and the government liked it so much they gave $9.9 million. Pioneering. These are crazy words. This is mad. It's hard to believe I'm reading this. New project. They actually got something new. They got something. Should have killed everything on the planet with nuclear at one point or another, and they studied it 8 or 9 times from different places around the world. Not like they don't know, and I'll show you that actually. But United Kingdom they're their own level of evil. The nuclear industry, they're special when it comes to evil. They should, when they go on vacation, they probably go to CERN and look for a portal. In Selwick, Preston and Medicine's discovered catapult had been awarded $9.9 million by the government to produce a cutting-edge treatment that have fewer side effects. All radiation has the same side effect. It kills you. Your body attacks with white blood cells till you die. And you do. Treatment that have fewer side effects. Is what? Man, it takes a set of balls to come out and write that. Yeah, now I had to go back and read it. Recycled nuclear fuel to be used in cancer therapy. Cancer therapy. Which always sets me off. I'll explain that. Harvesting nuclear material. Like corneas or something, or heart valves. Harvesting nuclear material has been used to power homes is then recycled to provide radiation therapy. That is literally the scariest. Well, first off, the emissions, the elements, the isotopes that are split and released into the environment from this material is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. Introduction to radiation injuries, another silent epidemic. Radiation injury to your heart and radiation-induced cardiac injuries. Radiation-induced kidney injuries. Hypoxia, of course, from radiation. Radiation-induced lung injuries. Radiation-induced bowel injuries. These are all radiation therapy. Go get your radiation therapy, then get a whole bunch of tumors, get sick and die. Radiation-induced kidney injuries. Radiation-induced brain injuries. I have so many studies from so many people. How can they not know this is just sick? You have to be literally out of the portals at CERN to actually do this to people. Radiation-induced brain necrosis. Nasty. Oh, did I mention radiation-induced rectal injuries? Sounds like a hoot, right? How about radiation-induced bowel injuries? So if radiation causes all these injuries, if you had a drug besides radiation that had these attributes where radiation-induced bile duct injuries, radiation-induced brain injuries, radiation-induced brain injuries. I mentioned radiation-induced brain injuries. How about radiation-induced brain injuries after proton radiotherapy? How about modification radiation-induced brain injuries? And they never stopped and said, maybe we should try something else. Brainstem injuries. I don't know why everybody dies, but we'll figure it out. Or my grandchildren will anyway. They're going to university. That's already paid for by the nuclear industry. Radiation-induced brain injuries. Language decline after brain radiation therapy. Language decline. Look at all the people paying their mortgages, sending their kids to Harvard and Yale, and paying for their music lessons, giving them cars. All you gotta do is study radiation and you'd never run out of work. Radiation-induced brain injuries after radiosurgery, radiotherapy, right from radiosurgery. Recurrent brain tumors from radiation therapy. Radiation-induced brain injuries after radiation therapy. Did I mention radiation-induced brain injuries? Induced, caused by the rain. Radiation. Brain tumor progression from radiation injury after cranial irradiation. Injuries to the brain from radiation therapy with whole brain. Brain radionecrosis after adjuvant radiation therapy. Aging masses detection of radiation-induced brain injury. Cognitive impairment in young patients treated with radiation therapy for a brain tumor from radiation poisoning. Radiation injury to the nervous system. It attacks everything. Radiation-induced death. Radiation-induced spinal cord injuries. Radiation injuries to the growth plate. Radiation-induced lung injuries. Have you seen a pattern, or is that just me? Radiation injuries to the optic nerves, to your eyes. Radiation injuries to your lower digestive tract. Have we missed anything? Radiation injury to the kidneys. Yeah, we missed the kidneys. Oh, and we missed cognitive impairment. Oh, you missed the bones. Radiation-induced fractures of femurs 18 years after, you guessed it, radiation therapy. The gift that never stops destroying, radiation therapy. Late radiation-induced rectal injuries after radiation therapy for cancer of the uterus. Several decades after radiation therapy, they still haven't learned anything. Only that people will do anything to stay alive. And this was the one thing they shouldn't have done. Impaired wound healing after radiation therapy. So, like, radiation therapy study attacked every part of your body. Like, it still blows my mind. I've been at that for all these years. It still blows my mind. But hey, don't worry about it, because you're going to have recycled nuclear fuel. They're going to call it radiation therapy. These people are insane. Radionuclides are already used worldwide for medical scans, so there you go. There's a precedent set. Doesn't mean it cured them. Doesn't mean it helped, but it was used, so we're good to go. Almost 3.5 million people in the United Kingdom have cancer. Gee, I wonder where that came from. And the occurrence of radioactive fallout over Norway after wind scale melted down in 1957. There's a gift that never stopped giving. There's 8 million liters a day still going into the Atlantic Ocean from this stupid idiot place. Wind scale radiation spread further than a minute. No, really? God, you wouldn't kid me, would you? Contamination from the fire 50 years ago, then the world's worst nuclear accident spread across northern Europe. Well, that's being pretty polite. So did their spent fuel pools at their reprocessing sites. Wind scale and leukemia controversies. How can it be a controversy when you had a nuclear meltdown? Cancers in Colombia, really? Right alongside the nuclear meltdown? Gee, I would never guessed that in my wildest dreams. Ever, honest goodness. Mortality in Cumberland during 1959-78 with references to cancer in young people. They were blaming it on the common flu when it was just, I can't remember, what is it, less than a dozen miles from a nuclear meltdown? That's still hemorrhaging 8 million liters. They had plutonium from Sellafield in all the teeth of the children, 2003. And they got wind scale in the background. It could be Chernobyl, because Chernobyl definitely showed up. They closed 9,000, it was actually 9,400 farms in Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom after Chernobyl because of radioactive fallout. You know, Crooked Teeth is notorious for heavy polluted areas. There were times with this machine that cost 3,000 sterlings or pounds, and it can detect levels of cesium-137. When you see with the A, that's the British. They're the only ones that use that connotation. The only remaining radionuclides from Chernobyl that give concern is cesium-137, but the biggest byproduct of the radioactive fuel rod is curium isotopes, not cesium. And curium's got a 250,000-year lifespan. And you need lead shielding 20 times thicker than you do for plutonium. Now, cesium's brutal, don't get me wrong. It pulses energy 600 feet every second, but it ain't the worst isotope or the only one left. The reason there's so many cancers in Britain is because you were recycling in Scotland at the Donneray. You haven't stopped releasing radiation. You have fuel pools at Windscale, now called Sellafield, to change the name after the meltdown. And they were jacking people off the streets and from the theaters, the back rows of theaters, with buses and guns. The police were. They didn't go to other nuclear plants and get volunteers, or the universities for nuclear students to get volunteers. They were jacking people at the back rows of the theater to go into the nuclear meltdown. And That's how they stopped it. But that is exactly what the British scientific brilliance. These people are insane, boy. Cutting edge cancer treatment from the British scientific brilliance. Like using, trying to sell a story and writing a sentence like that. These are friggin' dangerous people. Whoever wrote that actual sentences, these are very, very dangerous people. They will sacrifice your loved ones for a $5 bet with one of their cronies in the right environment. Turn use nuclear fuel into cutting-edge cancer treatment. Like, nuclear fuel doesn't cure cancer, it gives you more cancers. If they cured anybody with cancer, they would put them in a bus and drive them all over the planet and make the kids walk through the bus and shake their hands. Churn is a problem. And one of the biggest problems, of course, is United Nations is churn. And they have no good intentions for this planet or anybody on it. They as soon as blow the whole planet up if they can't get their own way. That's a fact. Everything UN touches turns to evil, it seems. And United Nations in charge of churn is a terrible idea. Meantime, China should just go ahead and nuke Japan. I got no issues with it. Just make sure you nuke Fukushima too. Use lots of nukes, and hopefully we can destroy what's left there before it kills our planet. Don't worry, China's not going to listen to Dana, okay? Don't give me that crap in the comment section. Personally, I don't care if China nukes them. I would care if you nuked anybody else, but I don't give a shit. Japan has destroyed our planet. There's lovely people in Japan. My apologies to those. But your country, you didn't stand up. What kind of country lets 36 nuclear meltdowns happen and is not in their faces every day? Not out there raising concern worldwide. What kind of people does that? Japan lost 36 reactor cores in 4 buildings and 8 fuel pools. It was over 3 decades of reactor cores were stored in the pools. They don't have a repository, and that's where it was kept. Dana's not doing too good, are you, Dana boy? I'm sorry to hear that. There's nothing worse than that feeling, I'm sure. Hope you do better, buddy. Yeah, the chat is disappearing, eh? Over and over and over. I've never seen that before. I'll just give you a quick example. See the disconnect? Over and over and over. I have a new security, and I have a 1 gigabyte upload download speed. We're only going to use 5.6 megabytes. Yeah. Dana's right. Yeah. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody out there. For sure. And that churn, that is really something to think about, right? Something we're going to have to keep an eye on. As if we haven't got enough on our plate already. They're playing that game over there. And they've had some success. And so we have to take them serious. Oh, wait, James posted another one. Nuclear Thanksgivings. Little nuclear Johnny's Thanksgiving special that was brilliant, man. That was awesome, buddy. We're going to give you news. I thought we were on the screen. My apologies. Let me get my brain back together here. I was looking at the clock and I was like, wow, I actually made it to 2 hours again. We've been running pretty hard this week on the stories. Like, folks, sometimes I talk shit. Don't pay no attention to me. Don't take anything personal. For God's sakes. It's a struggle. Every one of these shows, I've been doing them for so long. Sometimes I struggle, right? And I just say stuff. I don't mean anything, but for 95% of my shows is pretty reasonable. There's 5% where I goof around and I say some stupid shit. I'm just trying to keep these shows going. They're so difficult, right? You work all day and you sit there, you try to tell a story at night, and you literally your head is messed up. Just reading, like I can't cover everything. That's what drives me even worse. I don't want to do a 4, 5, 6 hour show. And that's what you kind of got to do to get through the 24-hour news cycle, which is I should have 10 people working for me, giving them things that they do so we can just go do the show, right? And they can fill in while I take a little breaks or something. That would be the ideal scenario. We need to come out and educate this population. It's friggin' madness anyway. I'm just going to keep doing the best I can, right? That's all I can do. And I'm not always the best, but I'm trying. So we're going to play Nuclear Thanksgivings. That's our closer tonight, and that's so awesome. And unless there's something major happens, I'll see you hopefully Sunday. It's hard to say in my little bizarre world that I live in, thanks to the nuclear industry. I can manage to keep pushing these shows out there. I'm pretty happy. That's a good start. At least keep the conversation going, all right? Have a great night. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody on the next side.
Beside the leftover tray, steam rising off reheats like someone miscalculated November. I lift a chip mug toward the control rack, note streak with graphite from the midday scramble. We call this a quiet shift, letting the air system swallow anything too real to say out loud. Same toast every year, here's to the chain reaction that never sleeps, while the night carries the taste of yesterday's confidence. Yeah, I'm thankful for the spare fuel, the heat blow, the souvenir stacked behind concrete press. Thankful for the transuranics, long-lived travelers sealed in metal caskets. Thankful for the PR machine, the showroom smile that sells forever. Thankful for this renaissance, the core that needs outside power just to rest. Yeah, I'm thankful, and the thanks slide straight to the floor. Out in the desert, tailing shine under a washed out sky. Liners shifting in a wind older than the policy that blessed them. A survey crew labels the hillside acceptable. Their reports gathering grains that refuse to Raise a toast to UF6 drums sweating in forgotten yards, to power lines shaking at midnight like an artificial pulse, to enrichment cascades stitched together on borrowed time. This feast tastes nuclear, metallic and sharp at the edges, and we pass the dishes like we pass the risk. Downward, outward, anywhere but home. I'm thankful for the spent fuel, thankful for the tailings, thankful for the Renaissance marketing deck, thankful for the hexafluoride breath and winter air. Yeah, I'm thankful because someone has to name the mess before the mess names us.